is the main event.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for coming back to join us for the top 10 greatest main events in WrestleMania history. If you watched the last video, it's numbers 10 through 6. This video is going to be part 2, which is numbers 5 through 1. There's a lot to fit into just one video. I didn't want to make it super long, so that's why I split it into 2 videos. And I thank you for joining me back here again today. I hope you like this content. It's WrestleMania themed for WrestleMania 38 coming up this weekend. I am Troy, co-host of the Main Event Marks podcast, and Greg, my other co-host, he is there in person in Dallas for WrestleMania 38, enjoying himself while I'm sitting here making great YouTube content for all of you out there at home. By the way, if you see the subscribe button is red down below, that means you have not subscribed, so please take this time to click that button, subscribe to the Main Event Marks right here on YouTube. It would help us out greatly. We post new content almost daily, and we're looking forward to serving up more great content for you in the future. Also, like this video and comment about what you think are the top 10 greatest WrestleMania main events ever. But now let's get into the list of 5 through 1.
Number 5, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit for the World's Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 20. This was the first triple threat match to ever close the show on the grandest stage of them all. The rivalry between these three began on December 29th's episode of Monday Night Raw, when Shawn Michaels challenged Triple H for the World's Heavyweight Championship in Michaels' hometown of San Antonio, Texas. It looked as if HBK was going to get the win, with the then Raw general manager Eric Bischoff coming into the ring at the last minute and making the pinfall, counting to 3 for what appeared to be Michaels winning the title. However, as Michaels' shoulders were on the mat at the same time as Triple H's, the match was later declared a draw, and Triple H retained the title. At the Royal Rumble, Triple H and Shawn Michaels faced each other again in a last man standing match for the World's Heavyweight title, which resulted in another draw. As a result, Triple H retained the title yet again. Later that night, during the Royal Rumble match, SmackDown's Chris Benoit won the contest by last eliminating The Big Show after being the first entrant. On the following night, Michaels and Triple H were involved in an in-ring confrontation when Raw's sheriff, Stone Cold Steve Austin, came to the ring and said that even though Michaels should have a rematch, he had to enforce the law, and that even though the Royal Rumble rules gave the winner of the match a shot at the championship, there was not any specification as to which world title that was. Benoit, who at the time was a member of the SmackDown brand, then came to the ring and said that he was taking advantage of the loophole, joining the Raw brand and challenging Triple H for the World's Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 20. On the February 9th episode of Monday Night Raw, a contract signing took place between Benoit and Triple H. As Triple H signed his name onto the paper, Michaels came out to the ring to inform Benoit that the last thing he wanted to do was rain on his parade. He then stated that he, more than anybody, can respect Benoit's effort to win the Royal Rumble match and earning a world title shot, but suggested that Benoit should have stayed on SmackDown to take care of business, while Michaels himself was trying to finish his feud with Triple H. Benoit refused to relinquish his guaranteed title shot, resulting in Michaels hitting Benoit with sweet chin music and signing the contract himself for the WrestleMania match. After the two men wrestled a match marred by interference from the champion on February 16th episode of Raw, Austin decided to make Triple H's title defense a triple threat match. On the March 1st episode of Raw, after Michaels and Benoit lost to Randy Orton and Batista, all of Evolution attacked Michaels and Benoit, ending with Triple H hitting both men with a pedigree and rubbing his world title belt into their faces while they lied motionless in the ring. The match itself earned 4 3/4 stars from Uncle Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. In the end, Michaels attempted sweet chin music on Benoit, but Benoit countered it by throwing Michaels out of the ring. Triple H then attempted a pedigree on Benoit, but the Rabid Wolverine countered and locked in the crippler crossface. With Triple H submitting, this was the first time ever that a WrestleMania main event ended in a submission. As a result, Benoit won the match and the World Heavyweight Championship, crying tears of joy. After the match, WWE Champion Eddie Guerrero came to the ring, and the two champions embraced while confetti dropped, and the event ended. Number 4, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania 17. This is the second time these two titans of the Attitude Era clashed in the main event of WrestleMania. The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin had fought for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 15 and again at Backlash 1999. Stone Cold Steve Austin earned his opportunity to compete for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania X7 by winning the 2001 Royal Rumble match when he last eliminated Kane, while The Rock became the first ever six-time WWF champion when he defeated Kurt Angle at No Way Out 2001. Austin's wife Deborah was ordered by WWF chairman Vince McMahon to be The Rock's manager against her wishes, as well as both The Rock and Austin's. As a result, Austin would hold The Rock and McMahon responsible if any harm came to her. On the March 12th episode of Raw is War, The Rock was placed in an ankle lock during the rematch with Kurt Angle. When Deborah went to check on The Rock, Angle also placed her into an ankle lock. Austin ran in to save her and knocked Angle out of the ring. Keeping to his word, he immediately gave The Rock a Stone Cold Stunner as punishment. The following week on Raw is War, during a handicap tag team match involving The Rock, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, and William Regal, Austin made his way to the ring and ended up getting a rock bottom from The Rock in response to the stunner from the previous week. On the March 29th episode of SmackDown, Deborah was relieved from her managerial role by Mr. McMahon after failing to prevent a brawl between The Rock and Austin. Just like Terminator 2 and The Godfather 2, this one definitely surpassed the original. And just like the original, this one was no disqualification rules. When The Rock tried to pin Stone Cold after a people's elbow, Mr. McMahon pulled The Rock off the pin. After The Rock chased McMahon around the ring, Austin used The Rock's signature move, the Rock Bottom. Later, Rock hit a rock bottom of his own for a near fall. After The Rock attacked McMahon, he was given a stunner by Austin for a near fall. After Rock kicked out of the stunner, McMahon handed Austin a steel chair to hit The Rock with at Stone Cold's request, revealing that Austin had sided with McMahon, a man he once considered his nemesis. With this, Austin officially turned heel. Austin attacked The Rock with a steel chair, hitting him 16 times before pinning him and becoming the new WWF champion. The show ended with Austin and McMahon shaking hands and sharing beers. Uncle Dave gave this one 4.5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. You can hear more about this entire event in our podcast archives. Number 3, John Cena vs. The Rock, WrestleMania 29. The Rock makes our list yet again, but this time with Big Match John in MetLife Stadium. This match was when once in a lifetime becomes twice in a lifetime. On January 27, 2013, John Cena won the 2013 Royal Rumble match, making him the fourth multiple Royal Rumble winner and earning himself either a WWE Championship or World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania 29. That same night, The Rock ended the 434-day WWE title reign of CM Punk. The next night, on the January 28th edition of Monday Night Raw, Cena announced that he would challenge the reigning WWE Champion. At the Elimination Chamber event on February 17th, The Rock successfully defended the WWE Championship against the previous champion, CM Punk, in a rematch from the Royal Rumble. The next night on Raw, Punk challenged Cena for his spot in the main event, and Cena accepted. Cena won the match on February 25th, setting up a rematch of his once-in-a-lifetime match from the previous year against The Rock. Cena blamed The Rock for sending his life into a downward spiral, citing events such as being attacked by Brock Lesnar on the post-WrestleMania Raw, Big Show turning heel and attacking him, being embarrassed by John Laurinaitis at Over the Limit, failing to cash in his Money in the Bank contract, losing to CM Punk multiple times, and losing to Dolph Ziggler at the 2012 TLC pay-per-view. He told The Rock he would finally gain redemption by beating him at WrestleMania. The nearly 24-minute match earned itself 3.5 stars from Uncle Dave and the Wrestling Observer. It was a major back-and-forth battle where neither man could gain a clear advantage. Near the end, both John Cena and The Rock went for the attitude adjustment and a rock bottom, respectively. This continued until The Rock delivered a DDT on Cena. But instead of pinning the leader of the C Nation, The Rock instead went for a fourth rock bottom, and Cena countered with a third AA to win the match and the title. After the match, Rock and Cena shook hands and hugged each other. The Rock praised John Cena as the WWE Champion and raised his hand on top of the stage. Number 2, John Cena vs. The Rock, WrestleMania 28. Now we're talking once in a lifetime. That happened again the very next year. On the February 14th, 2011 episode of Monday Night Raw, The Rock was revealed as the host of WrestleMania 27. Upon his return to WWE, he began a feud with John Cena and Cena's opponent at WrestleMania, then WWE Champion, The Miz. He continued for weeks in terms of verbal assaults until the March 28th episode of Raw, where Cena delivered the attitude adjustment to The Rock after he fended off attacks from The Miz and his protege, Alex Riley. At WrestleMania 27, The Rock got involved in the main event WWE Championship match between The Miz and John Cena, which initially ended in a double countout. After the match was restarted under no disqualification, no countout rules, The Rock delivered a rock bottom to Cena as a measure of payback, allowing The Miz to get the win. The next night on Raw, Cena challenged The Rock to a one-on-one match. The Rock accepted and proposed that the match be held at WrestleMania 28. After winning the WWE Championship from The Miz at Extreme Rules, John Cena interrupted The Rock's birthday celebration during the May 2nd episode of Raw to announce his intentions to defend the WWE title against The Rock at WrestleMania 28. This was made not possible by Cena losing the title at Money in the Bank in July. At Survivor Series in November, Cena teamed with The Rock, who was wrestling his first WWE match in almost 8 years. The two were billed as the most charismatic tag team, and they defeated The Miz and R-Truth. After the match, The Rock hit a rock bottom to Cena. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Uncle Dave Meltzer gave this one 3 3/4 stars, but to me, and most of the others I've talked to, this one was better than the second one. My co-host Greg disagrees. Cena and Rock viciously went back and forth with each other throughout the match. Cena had hit 2 attitude adjustments on The Rock for a near fall, and The Rock hit a rock bottom and a people's elbow on Cena for a near fall. In the end, Cena attempted The Rock's own people's elbow. The Rock countered with his own rock bottom on Cena, and he pinned him to win the match. And number 1, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 26. If you were asked to show one single match to someone who's never watched wrestling before, it would be one of the Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels matches at WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels was unsuccessful in defeating The Undertaker and ending Undertaker's undefeated streak on the grandest stage of them all. When the match won the 2009 Slammy Award Match of the Year, Michaels stated in his acceptance speech that he could still defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania and challenged him to a rematch. A month later, The Undertaker, who was the World's Heavyweight Champion at the time, made his reply and refused the rematch. The refusal saw Michaels obsessed about facing The Undertaker at the event, attacking referee Charles Robinson and SmackDown General Manager Theodore Long respectively after failing in his title match opportunities in the Royal Rumble match and Elimination Chamber qualifiers. At the Elimination Chamber event, Michaels snuck into Undertaker's Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship and nailed a sweet chin music on The Undertaker, allowing Chris Jericho to beat the Dead Man to win the World Heavyweight title. On the following night, The Undertaker changed his mind and accepted the rematch, but with one stipulation, that if the Heartbreak Kid loses, he would have to retire. Michaels accepted, noting that if he could not end the streak, there was no reason for his career to continue. 2 weeks later, Michaels and The Undertaker agreed on another additional stipulation. This match would have no disqualification and no countouts. This one wasn't in the Tokyo Dome, so Uncle Dave only gave it 4 3/4 stars, but for any objective viewer, this thing was 6 to 7 stars easily. The match, billed as Streak vs. Career, started off hot and kept going for 24 minutes. HBK hit his third sweet chin music for a dramatic near fall. He then attempted it again, but The Undertaker countered into a chokeslam and quickly followed up by nailing a second tombstone piledriver. Michaels kicked out at the count of 2, however. Undertaker began to signal for the end for Michaels, but stopped his cutthroat action and told Michaels to stay down. The showstopper, however, taunted The Undertaker by doing his own cutthroat motion and slapped him in the face. Then, Undertaker responded with a third jumping tombstone piledriver and pinned the fallen Michaels for the win. This extended the undefeated streak at the Show of Shows to 18-0 and ended Shawn Michaels' career. After the match, the two shook hands and embraced. The Undertaker soon left, and the Heartbreak Kid interacted with the fans for the final time as the event came to a close.
We did it. We made it. That is numbers 5 through 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, like and subscribe if you liked the content. If you didn't like the content, thanks for hanging around so long. Please go check out the other video, which is going to be right there, of numbers 10 through 6. This was a two-parter, as I said, so I hope you enjoyed it. Check out all of our other awesome content on this channel, and I hope you come back and see us again real soon get ready for WrestleMania 38 coming up nights 1 and 2 on Saturday and Sunday this weekend.
This is the main